What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Coach Franco Breakdowns. We're still inside living the quarantine life, but that will not stop us from making another breakdown video. So, for today, we are going to discuss and break down UFC 249. I will discuss three fights. So, that's the Ngannou fight, the Cejudo fight, and the main event, which is the Gaethje and the Tony Ferguson fight. Most of the prelims and the undercards delivered, and I was very surprised that Cowboy Cerrone and Anthony Pettis was in the prelims or in the undercard. So I mean, that felt pretty weird, to be honest. As a fight fan and as a fan of both strikers, that was a little bit different for me. So let's get to it. Francis Ngannou versus Jairzinho Rosenstrike. These are two heavy hitters. Make no mistake, Rosenstrike is no He's not a push. He's not something that's easy. He's not an easy opponent for anybody. And Francis Ngannou is just Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou did Francis Ngannou things. So the fight didn't really last long. As you can see, it ended with a TKO of Ngannou to Rosenstrike, and it happened in the 22nd. Parang it happened in the 22nd mark of the first round. So it clearly is a exhibition of the power behind Francis Ngannou. Now, I've read somewhere that what do you call this? Like the total. This is a very crazy statistic that the total amount of minutes, like it's like 2 minutes and 42 seconds or something like that. That is the total amount of minutes. Okay, that's the total amount of time spent by Francis Ngannou every time he steps inside the cage. So, and as many fights as he has, he's only spent that amount of time because he clearly disposes his opponents quickly. Now, I don't know if they included the losses, but that's probably the minutes used or incurred during his wins. But definitely, if you include the entire duration, including the losses, that's definitely more. But you cannot deny the fact that this guy comes in there to finish, and he has sledgehammers for hands, and he when he hits you, you go out. Clear and plain and simple, you go out. That's just power, and you cannot teach power. There's one thing I learned in in my years of striking and learning to strike, and now teaching people how to strike properly, is that there are people who you can learn technical skills. Anybody that learns and tries to learn how to be technical will be technical, but you cannot teach power. It's either you have it or you don't. You can develop personal power, you can improve it, but there are just people who were born with natural power in the hands, and Francis Ngannou is one of them. Now, he is impressive, but for me, he's still at that level wherein he's depending too much on his power. He's depending too much on. I mean, this is the thing with people who have knockout power. They know it's there. They know that it's gonna happen. It's just a matter of when to strike. So in boxing, the best comparison I could give right now is Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder could be losing first round up to the 11th round, and then you give him the 12th round. He will maintain that power, and he will just wait for that split second for his opponents to sleep off or to not pay attention, and then bam, he's gonna hit you. And when he hits you, it's like a freight train hit you, and you're gonna go down. Okay? Only a few people are capable of getting up from those things. So in the case of Francis Ngannou, we go back to Francis Ngannou now. He is at that level wherein he is not yet technically proficient. He is getting there. He is getting there. He's improving. He's training, but uh, one thing that I notice is he's swinging for the fences all the time. You know, there's little structure. Of course, these things take time. You have to build new habits, but in the long run, you have to not only do you rely on your power, but you have to build on the skill sets that you need in order to survive, in order to get better, in order to dominate. I mean, excuse me. I mean, for now, you're just relying on knocking out people. So it will get you to a level wherein you will be, well, he's actually a very a big contender in the heavyweight division. But um, if I were someone like, for example, I'm Stipe's coach or I'm Cormier's coach, how do you deal with someone like Francis Ngannou? It's like you take him down, plain and simple. You take away the vector, the center of gravity, the source of the power. You neutralize it. You take him down to the ground, and as you can see, I mean, when he fought Stipe, he was Stipe took his shots. Okay, so that's when you know that Stipe can take your shots, and you know he weathered the storm, and then he just picked him apart. So that is something that future opponents can look out for. You know, so I'll just weather the first two rounds, tire him out, and then hopefully, of course, there's always the chance now that you're gonna get hit, but you have to play it smart. You have to be smart about fighting someone like Francis Ngannou. So you avoid the power shots, you weather the storm, you take him down. You take him down, you pin him in the cage, you tire him out, you grind him, you grind him, you grind him. You take him into deep waters until he doesn't know what to do anymore. And people who get tired easily or people who get tired fast, okay, and these are the people that have like that's the problem with Rampage Jackson. He's so used to knocking out people na when he fought opponents who knew how to grapple, who knew how to wrestle, who knew how to dirty box, he was so eager, he was so tense, he was very excited to knock him out that he forgot the game plan. He didn't have a backup game plan. So I think this is something that Francis Ngannou should look into. Of course, his coaches and his staff and his camp should definitely consider, because now you've probably cleared out your opponents, and who's gonna be next, right? So it's gonna be Stipe. I mean, I don't know if Cormier is gonna fight him. And now, as of this recording, people are talking about John Jones tweeting him. John Jones probably looking at a money fight with him. And John Jones, when people will always have this perception that Francis Ngannou can knock out John Jones, that is true. That is true. Make no mistake, he can, and he probably will. However, you have to understand how smart John Jones is. He will definitely use his strength, he will use his agility, he will use his mobility and athleticism to tire out, grind out things with John Jones will not, you will not, and you cannot engage John Jones in a slugfest. He will not engage you in a slugfest. He will pick you apart. He will use every round to pick you apart. And then by the third, fourth, and fifth round, when you're in deep waters and you don't know what to do anymore, that's where he'll break you. Okay? So believe it or not, if John Jones fights Francis Ngannou, I'm putting money on John Jones. He's gonna wrestle him. He's gonna clinch him. He's gonna push him against the cage. He's gonna put his weight. He's gonna pressure him down until he tires out. And Ngannou, your only hope is to land that perfectly timed shot and hopefully knock out John Jones. So we'll see. And there are so many possibilities for Francis Ngannou right now. Of course, there's top two. So like I mentioned, there's Miocic and DC. Ben Rothwell is there. So many other heavyweights. I'm not sure because like I don't know. He probably cleared out everyone. So those are his options. This is good for Francis Ngannou. And I was super excited when I saw that post, Ngannou talking with Mike Tyson. Like, if he starts learning how Mike Tyson moves, he can go MMA and he can go boxing. I promise you, he can go boxing. So, Ngannou Rosenstrike. Now we're gonna go to the next one. I think more or less the Henry Cejudo versus Dominic Cruz fight clearly sums up how great of an athlete Henry Cejudo is. It also tells you how really good of a fighter Dominic Cruz is. Dominic Cruz hasn't fought for I don't know, like 3 or 4 years. He was doing commentary for the UFC. He was doing analyst work, and then the opportunity to fight for the title came, and he took it. That clearly shows character. That goes to show how much of a fighter Dominic Cruz is. And then initially, uh, he did his ring shuffles. He fought the way Dominic Cruz would fight, you know. But I think the offensive mindset came came late. I don't know. First round, of course, first round is the feeling out round, but Henry Cejudo is a very very smart fighter. He knew that the foundation of Dominic Cruz's offense is deeply hinged, okay, or is mainly anchored on his ability to move. So if Dominic Cruz can move, I mean, you allow him his shuffle, you allow him to move his feet, you allow him to float around the cage, he's gonna pick you apart. He's gonna fight you smart. He's gonna tear you down piece by piece. Doesn't matter. He'll probably soften you up with strikes and then try to take you down. But of course, he's not gonna wrestle with an Olympic gold medalist. So on Henry Cejudo's part, it was very smart because he knew that Dominic Cruz's game plan is deeply anchored in his ability to move around the cage. So the first thing he did was leg kicks. Leg kicks. Uh, he softened up his legs. He was able to chop down. I mean, this is a fight term. It's called chopping down the tree. He was able to chop down the tree. Whether it was a slap kick or it was a really good, well executed leg kick that hurt. The accumulation of those kicks, okay, is gonna take its toll on your legs. Now, for someone who hasn't fought in like 3 to 4 years, take quite the edge off of you. So from if you notice, there are like slight changes now in terms of Dominic Cruz's movement. So he came from ACL injuries. He fights the way he fights, and then he goes out against a he goes out against Triple C. So now Triple C sees the advantage that he has over him. He knows that Dominic's not gonna wrestle with him. So now it's his job, or he took it upon himself. That was a very good game plan. He went forward. He cut off Dominic's angles. The way he cut off Dominic's angles to deliver those leg kicks is something that is purely fight architecture. It's well constructed and perfectly executed. He cut off the angles, and then right at the moment we're in, Dominic was about to shift. The way he shifts the way he shifts directions and the way he shuffles his legs, he would intercept, okay, Dominic at certain angles and then deliver the leg kick. This is something that he probably learned from Cody Garbrandt. The way Cody Garbrandt fought Dominic Cruz, he did not fight Dominic Cruz at the angles that Dominic Cruz wanted him to fight. He intercepted Dominic Cruz, and Henry Cejudo did the same thing. He intercepted Dominic Cruz at angles wherein he could deliver leg kicks, and those accumulated leg kicks slowed down Dominic. And then it was a very well timed kick. Let's put in a little bit of luck. Dominic has this sequence with his foot pattern wherein he would always go do a bob and then a weave. So the knee caught him at the weave and he was able to go down. Of course, Cejudo smelled blood and he just went after him. Now, if the question is, was it an early stoppage? I would probably agree. I mean, Dominic wasn't really in danger. Yes, he was getting punched, but he was on his way up. If you're a fighter who is capable or who is in the process of getting up, you're not staying there, you're not just covering, you're not turtling and doing this, but you are actually exposed and you are standing up, then you're in the fight. But then again, referees saw it differently, and and of course, referees are out there for fighter safety. So it is what it is. I think Dominic Cruz is gonna bounce back from this, and he can always Triple C retired, so there's no clapback anymore. I don't know. Unless Cejudo decides to unretire and go back, they can go at it again. But I mean, with his retirement, the division is definitely open for everyone, and Dominic Cruz can definitely uh, regain his title and regain his belt back. But it is what it is, and I'm very happy to see him back in the cage. I just hope that to have a decent title run, you have to accumulate fights under your belt. So you have to keep active. You have to stay. I mean, probably fight at least 2 times a year. And then if you're done, you're done. If not, then make a last run and see what happens. And then we go to my favorite fight of the evening: Justin Gaethje versus Tony Ferguson. So Gaethje won, fifth round TKO at 3:39. This is the evolution of Justin Gaethje, from someone who is just barn burning and just he's uncontrollable. He's fun to watch. He's very exciting. But under Trevor Whitman, you can see the transformation and the improvement with each fight. He knew that he was contender. From being a contender, he's believed that he's capable of winning a championship, and he trained well for it. And he was ready. He was ready. Tony Ferguson was supposed to fight Khabib Nurmagomedov, and that fucking fight is cursed. I wanted to see it. I've been rooting for the damn fight to happen, but it is what it is. Fucking cursed fight. So now it's Gaethje Ferguson. Uh, so hard to see Ferguson lose that way, but it only shows you how tough he is. He probably did several camps, cut weight, made weight, and then fight was rescheduled, so you have to make your body undergo another cycle, and then you cut weight again, and then you rehydrate, and then everything's uncertain because of the coronavirus. But make no mistake, Tony Ferguson is one tough motherfucker. Major props to Tony Ferguson for taking this fight and being patient, and doing it for the organization. It goes to show how much of a warrior he is. um, he lost this fight he was tough during the entire bout, but Justin Gaethje just had his number. Gaethje had better striking, and he has this wrestling pedigree that Tony Ferguson will not mess with. I mean, Tony Ferguson did Tony things. He was tough. He was grinding it out. His pace was there. But here's the problem with, and I've had this observation like way before about Tony Ferguson. Ferguson overwhelms people with his cardio and his pace. However, if you fight someone who has the same pace and who has the same cardio as you, the fight now the main determinant of the fight now would be skill set. Okay? Everyone knows that Tony Ferguson is a legitimate black belt in jiu-jitsu, but his striking is very questionable. And it is a very unpopular opinion, well, at least amongst me and some of my MMA friends. But for me, I'm one of the guys that said his striking is very questionable for me. He overwhelms people. He has this space that mauls people, but the technical part of his striking is something that is subjective. And clearly this fight with Justin Gaethje proved it, because Gaethje just took him apart. Gaethje had solid jabs. He what do you call this? He had solid jabs. He had good timing with his right hand. He was throwing left hooks. He was punching the body. He was throwing leg kicks, and then he changed it up. There were times wherein he would throw leg kicks, and then he would throw body kicks, and then that surprise head kick. You know what I'm saying? So the same with the Cejudo and Dominic Cruz fight. Gaethje kept attacking the legs. Ferguson's attacks were based on his mobility, agility, speed, and quickness. So you take that away from the equation, you're good to go. That's what Gaethje did. He chopped on his legs, punched the body, and Justin Gaethje is another guy that hits like a rock. So every time that he punched Ferguson, it hit him and it hurt him. He was cut in the ear. He was cut in the eye. And I don't understand why Ferguson starts doing those weird things. He's known to do weird things, but punching the thigh. The guy's chopping down on your leg, and your counter is to punch the thigh. That is weird. It's also poor coaching. You know, it's also poor coaching. I mean, his striking coach should have told him like, get away from the leg kicks, create more angles for yourself, jab more, throw your straights, get inside, dirty box, use your elbows. I mean, for God's sake, the guy has very pointed elbows that opens people up. So why don't you go in now? If you can't if you can't take him toe to toe standing up, why don't you just go ahead and take him down or jump pull guard? You know, the guy has Ferguson has high level jiu-jitsu. So, you know, there are so many things that could have happened. There are so many things that there are so many possibilities that were not discovered, but we were given the result that we were given. Justin Gaethje is now the interim what do you call this? Interim UFC lightweight title holder. So he's lined up to fight Khabib Nurmagomedov. A lot of people are again counting him out of the Nurmagomedov race, but for me, Justin Gaethje has the tools to beat Khabib. I am a Khabib fan. I love Khabib, but this is gonna be a very, very interesting fight. Trust me. This is gonna be a very, very interesting fight. It's going to be interesting and exciting at the same time. Okay? Now, speaking of Khabib, this is another factor, like for me, this is another factor why Ferguson lost. Ferguson, for the longest time, has been designing his camp to fight Khabib. And then all of a sudden, he needs to adjust everything to fight Gaethje. That's a factor. Okay? That's a contributing factor. So many things, so many. That's why I love doing this breakdown so that we could all interact. Now, if you have other things, you have comments, and you have suggestions or some other points that I wasn't able to say, just put them down in the comment section. And I mean, let's discuss. I love discussing with my community. So from there, we go to Khabib. Khabib is definitely ready. He will always be ready. Now it's a matter if when that fight happens, how good is Khabib striking? Okay, so now for everyone, including myself, that has watched Khabib through the years, the way he mauls and just devours his opponents, you are going to fight someone who is really good at wrestling. I mean, we'll find out if Khabib can take Gaethje down. But what if Khabib couldn't take Gaethje down? Gaethje has good takedown defense. He has good sprawls. He can get out of the clinch. What will Khabib do now? Khabib just he has this concrete fight plan. Take him down, smash. Gaethje, on the other hand, has good wrestling and he has good striking. So what do you think? So put your comments on put your predictions in the comment section, and I hope you like this episode. Follow me on my other social media platforms. On Facebook, just type in Coach Franco Rolyoda. Everything else, it's at Franco Rolyoda. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Okay? I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.